Hi Year 7, it's Mrs. Reed here and welcome to the final lesson of English this year. I'm hoping today we'll get a chance to finish reading The Demon Headmaster, although I seem to have a bit of an issue with recording, and this is my second run, and you can see that my camera at the top there isn't working as well. So you won't be able to see me in this one, but you will be able to hear me reading the story. So we'll have to enjoy it a little bit like an audiobook. Okay, before we start then, can you please have a go at this task? You do not need to write it down. Okay, I would like you just to recap the wonderful words that we have been learning over the last few weeks, and you have got 5 questions to answer. You can do this with hands up, or you can tell the person next to you. Okay, we'll just do this verbally. So, which word means to capture your attention completely? Okay, have a look at our words down the side. We've got dazzled, eerie, withered, mesmerised or shuddered. Which word means to capture your attention completely? Okay, well done if you got that the word was mesmerised, just like the Demon Headmaster's eyes might be mesmerising to anyone who looks into them. Number 2, which word means to shake suddenly and briefly? Okay, well done if you got that. That was shuddered. And we might say that Simon shuddered when he looked into the eyes of the headmaster and realised he was being hypnotised. Number 3, which word means strange and frightening? Okay, good. We should have got the word eerie. And we might say that the atmosphere in the woods outside the BRC was eerie. Number 4, which word means to blind with a bright light? Good, that was the word dazzled. Okay, we might say that Simon was dazzled as Dina spun round quickly with the torch in her hands. And number 5 then, finally, which word means dry and shrivelled? Good, that was the word withered. So withered we might use to describe the plants. If you remember when Dina planted the seeds and they grew very quickly, she went back to her room the next day to find that they had withered. Good. Okay, let's carry on then and read the rest of the story. I'm picking up from page 100. Ooh, that's not right. Page 132. Oh dear, what's going on with this? Here we go. Okay, so you might want to think, what do you think is going to happen next to Dina? What do you think will happen to Lloyd? And what about that monster that has been made using Dina and the lizard DNA? Okay, 2 minutes to tell each other what you think might happen. Okay, let's read on. Just going to pick up the end of chapter 13 before we continue. So this is when Dina had reached the ice house and she'd heard some people behind her. A few seconds later, 2 men in white coats walked into the clearing. They made straight for the ice house and hesitated at the top of the steps. Dina thought they looked nervous, almost frightened. Finally, they walked down the steps to examine the door, and like Dina, they parted the shoots of the creeper. The moment they saw the hole, they backed away from the steps and stood muttering to each other. Dina strained to hear what they were saying, but she only managed to catch a few words. Must be getting out that way. Have to tell the director. Can't risk going in. They sounded terrified. It seemed a long time before they moved, but at last Dina walked back up the garden. Dina crawled out of the rhododendron bush, feeling shaken but triumphant. She had the net, and she knew where the buzzing was coming from. Some evidence at last. She had to get the others to come back to the BRC with her. If they were all there, they could break into the ice house and find out what was buzzing, so that Lloyd could be cured and Dee and Simon could be rescued from the director. Chapter 14, ready for testing. Simon had stopped struggling. He was staring across the laboratory in horrified fascination, watching the figure at the computer, the lizard girl. She was staring at the screen and moving the mouse, not with the scaly claw that Simon had first seen, but with her other hand, the one that looked like Dina's. The rest of her looked like Dina too, that was obvious, in spite of the heavy headphones she was wearing and the baggy tracksuit they'd dressed her in. She had the same thin face and dark hair. The only difference was that the lizard hand and this patch of small green scales across her right cheek. Also, the fact she had no feelings. Simon shuddered. "Time to test how much speech you have learnt," said the director, and he bent down slowly and spoke to her. "What is your name?" The lizard girl spun round in her chair. Her voice was rough and unpractised, but she didn't hesitate. "I have no name," she said. What name would you like?" he asked. "Whatever you choose," the girl said. The director smiled. "That is the answer I expected. Very good. Your name is Eve." "Thank you, sir." "You have mastered the speech program very fast. Now we must get on to some serious testing." "It is time for them to meet," he said. "To meet?" responded Simon. "Of course. How else am I to test Eve? She is designed to be a superior version of Dina Hunter. To test her, I must pit the two of them against each other." Simon didn't like to think what the director meant by pit against each other. "Dina won't come," he said. "I think she will." The director picked up the telephone, and as he did so, Simon glanced sideways at Eve. He smiled just to see what would happen. Nothing happened. She stared straight through him as if he were a lizard. As if she were a lizard. The phone rang for a moment, and then Simon heard a voice answering from the other end. A smile spread across the director's face. "Mrs. Hunter, good afternoon. I'm the director of the research centre. I understand your son Lloyd has had an accident." Most unfortunate," the director said. "But I think I have some good news. We've been developing an anti-trauma serum in our laboratories, and the doctors feel that it may be of benefit to your son. It acts directly on the DNA of people affected by shock." "That's rubbish," Simon thought, but Mrs. Hunter didn't know that. He interrupted her before she'd finished. "For the serum to work properly, we need precise details of the accident. I gather your daughter was present when Lloyd fell down in the quarry." "No, she wasn't," Simon said, but he should have known better. The director pressed a button on the desk. It didn't make any sound inside the laboratory, but it must have rung a bell outside because two men in white coats appeared immediately. Before Simon could say another word, he found a large hand jammed over his mouth. The director kept on talking. "Just bring your daughter up here the moment she comes home. I will talk to her myself. Yes, I do think it's your son's only chance of recovery." He put the phone down and he looked at Simon severely. "You cannot be permitted to disrupt my plans." He waved to the men in white coats. "Silence him." Dina ran through the kitchen door and met a row of eyes. There was Harvey, Mandy, Ingrid and Ian, and Mrs. Hunter too, all staring sternly at her. There was a plate of sandwiches on the table, but it was obvious that no one felt like eating. "At last," said Ingrid. "Where have you been?" "I don't care where she's been," Mrs. Hunter said icily. "There's no time to waste on explanations. We've got to get you to the BRC." "What?" Dina said. "No argument," said Mrs. Hunter. "It's not much to ask. Your father's on his way home. He's resigned from his job because they wouldn't let him come back to see Lloyd. So don't you dare make a fuss about a little thing like going to the BRC." "But why?" Dina said. "I'll explain on the way. You'd already know if you'd come to the hospital like everyone else, instead of refusing to help Lloyd." "What?" Dina said. "I didn't refuse to help Lloyd." "What are you talking about?" "You did refuse," said Harvey. "I heard you. I phoned to tell you that the doctors wanted you to come in, and you said you were too busy collecting evidence." "No, I didn't." And then Dina realised that she had said it, only she thought she'd been speaking to Simon. She sat down beside Harvey. "That was you on the phone." "Of course it was," Mrs. Hunter said. "But that's all ancient history now. We've got to get to the BRC. They want you there urgently." The headmaster was still trying to get her to go to the BRC, was he? What did he want? "Why me?" she said in a small voice. "Because you can tell them exactly what happened when Lloyd fell down the quarry." "No, I can't," Dina said. "I told you, I never went to the quarry that night." The others avoided her eyes, and Mrs. Hunter sighed. "I think we've had enough of lies. Why don't you think about Lloyd for a change? If you tell the truth, you might be able to save him." Dina took a deep breath and made herself speak calmly. She said to her friends, "Look, you all know me better than anyone else. Please listen to me properly just for once." "Well, I suppose it's only fair to listen," said Mandy. "Thanks. Quickly." Dina pulled Simon's net out of her jacket. "I wasn't there, because I went to fetch this," she said. "It's an insect trap. Simon made it. It's been chewed by something huge." "Oh, come on," Ian said. "Just look at it," said Dina. "I don't know what got caught in here, but I know that there's some kind of monster at the BRC, something they've produced by genetic engineering." "What for?" Ingrid said. "Why would scientists want to make monsters?" "I don't know why," said Dina, "but I know who. He's taken over the BRC, he's got us to come here by offering Dad a job, and now he's persuaded Mum to take me to the laboratory." "Who?" said Mandy. Dina took a deep breath. "The headmaster." Suddenly they were all looking at her, but it was too late. Mrs. Hunter was already coming back down the stairs. Dina spoke as fast as she could. "I didn't know it was you on the phone, Harvey. Rose said it was Simon. He's trapped in the BRC, and he's trying to get me there too. The headmaster's hypnotised him." They were starting to look confused, but Dina couldn't stop. She had to tell them everything. "Rose is working for the headmaster. I saw her let herself into the BRC. It opens a secret door opposite the big oak tree." "That's enough." Mrs. Hunter came in. "I don't know what you're talking about, but it can wait till we get back. Come on." "You've got to believe me," Dina said. "It's Lloyd's only chance." Left alone in the kitchen, the other four looked around. "What do you think?" Ingrid said. Harvey picked up the net and spread it on the table. "She's right about this being weird, but giant insects?" Ian looked thoughtful. "Remember what Di said about the wood that was chewed? That's what wasps do. I told you before." Apologies if you can hear a rather loud noise. It's my next door neighbours at the moment who seem to be doing some more DIY work. Harvey picked up the net and spread it on the table. "She's right about this being weird, but giant insects?" Ian looked thoughtful. "Remember what Di said about the wood that was chewed? That was what wasps do. I told you before." Harvey tried to make sense of it all. "Well, what evidence have we got? We've got the net, the chewed up wood, Simon's photos of the creeper if they're real." "Something else," Mandy said. She came back with a letter in her hand. It was from Dr. Rowe, Professor Rowe at the Wessex University. "Thank you very much for the sample of the creeper you sent. I've done a DNA scan. There's no doubt it's a very strange plant indeed. It would be possible, in my judgment, for the plant to evolve like that, but it would take several million years at least for anything to develop in this way. I should be most interested to know where you obtained this sample." For a moment, no one spoke. "Maybe it's true. Let's go to the hospital. Let's see if Dina's right about Lloyd and the buzzing, and if it wakes him up." They spun round suddenly to see Rose stood in the doorway. "What buzzing?" For a second,